Good evening, football fans. Big Al here on this Tuesday, November 1st, 2022. And man, it's hard to believe we're already in November, which means we're just about halfway through this 2022 NFL season as I welcome you to another edition of the week that was. As well, be taking a look at the statistical numbers from all 15 games in week number 8 of the NFL season. And at the end of the rundown, we'll take a look at the updated NFL standings plus my week 9 power rankings. So stick with me as I run you through all the numbers from every game this week. If you're new, like, comment, and subscribe to my channel and ring that notification bell and get notified every time I post a video. That being said, let's dive right in, shall we, to week 8 of the week that was in the National Football League. And we're kicking things off as we always do with Thursday Night Football. And this week it pitted the Baltimore Ravens at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Ravens were ranked number 10 in my week 8 power rankings, and the Buccaneers were just a spot below them at number 11. And it was Lamar Jackson getting the best of Tom Brady on this night, as Baltimore goes on to win this game by a final score of 27-22. The Ravens ran 72 offensive plays, 38 passes, and 34 runs. The Bucs ran 59 plays, 44 passes, and only 15 runs. Baltimore outgained Tampa Bay 453 to 349. Tampa Bay through the air outgained Baltimore 305 to 222. And rushing yards were a big edge to the Ravens, 231 to 44. The Ravens ran at a 6.8 yards per rush clip. Baltimore had the edge as well on first downs, 27 to 20. On the year, the Ravens have 165, while the Buccaneers have 160. The Ravens finished 6 of 13 on third downs for 46.2%. For the season, they're 41 of 96 for 42.7. And 0 for 1 on fourth down. 4 for 9 for the season at 44.4%. Tampa Bay was 4 of 13 on third downs for 30.8%. And 37 of 107 on the year for 34.6%. They converted their only fourth down play of the game, which puts them 5 for 9 on the season at 55.6%. The Ravens had 7 penalties for 101 yards. They now have 43 total for 393. The Buccaneers have 4 penalties for 35 yards and 44 for the season for 358. Time of possession, huge favor to the Ravens. 38 minutes and 23 seconds to 21 minutes and 37 seconds for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And this makes the Baltimore Ravens ball hawks. Which, again, if you're new to this channel and you don't know what a ball hawk is, let me explain it for you real quick. A ball hawk is a team that possesses the football for at least 35 minutes in a game, whether they win or lose. There we go. Okay, straighten out. All right, jumping over to the defensive side of the ball. The Ravens records 37 tackles, 22 solo tackles. They now have 342 total tackles, 194 solo. They recorded 3 sacks on Tom Brady, which brings their season total to 23. There were no fumbles by the Ravens defense, so they remain at 9. And passes defensed, they had 7 of them, bringing their grand total to 39. And with no interceptions or touchdowns by the Baltimore D, they remain with 8 interceptions. The Tampa Bay defense records 55 tackles, 30 solo. That brings their respective totals to 347 and 157. They sacked Lamar Jackson 3 times, bringing their season total to 25. No fumbles forced by this Buccaneer defense on Thursday night leaves them at 8 for the year. And 3 passes defense brings them to 26. And they too had no interceptions or touchdowns from their defense, leaving them with 6 interceptions and 1 TD. All right. Point spreads and over-under totals are courtesy of the Sports Alerts app. And right now I can tell you that the closing line in this game was Tampa Bay -2, and the over-under was 46. And I picked the Ravens to win this game 28-24. And I had the Ravens as the road underdog covering the 2 points. They ended up winning by 5. So I got both the straight up and ATS picks. By the way, my ATS record after week 7 was 49, 55, and 4. So that was my ATS record after 7 weeks. I wasn't sure of it off the top of my head from last week. So I figured I'd go ahead and tell you that now. Okay, moving on to the Sunday schedule and our third London game this season. This time pitting the Denver Broncos at the Jacksonville Jaguars, both teams riding 4-game losing streaks. And both teams entering with 2-5 records. Denver was ranked number 25 in my Week 8 power rankings. Jacksonville was 27. And it looks like the Broncos offense showed up in London, sort of, as they walk out of London victorious 21-17 over the Jaguars, who have now dropped 5 straight games. Denver ran 58 offensive plays, 30 passes, 28 runs. Jacksonville ran 63 plays, 31 passes, and 32 plays. So both had balanced offenses in this game. Not a lot of yards, though. 331 total yards of offense for the Broncos to 305 for the Jaguars. Passing yards favored Denver, 230 to 114, so that's slightly more than 2-1. Rush yards favored Jacksonville, 191 to 101. And Jacksonville averaged just about 6 yards per run, whereas Denver averaged about 3.6. First downs favored the Jags, 24-18. Jacksonville now has 181 first downs through 8 games. Denver 136 through 8 games. Both teams were not good on third down. 2 of 11 for Denver for 18.2%. 4 of 11 for Jacksonville for 36.4%. For the year, Denver is now 33 out of 113 on third down, which is 29.2%, one of the lowest rates in the NFL. Jacksonville is 40 of 97 for 41.2%. The Broncos did convert 2 of 3 on fourth down for 66.7%. They're now at 50% for the season, 6 out of 12. No fourth down plays for Jacksonville, so they stay 7 of 17 at 41.3%. The Broncos had 12 penalties in this game for 81 yards. They now have 70 in 8 games for 601 yards. Jacksonville had 5 penalties for 54 yards and 50 total for 3. I think that's 384. Yeah, that's 384. Time of possession favored the Jaguars, 34 minutes and 4 seconds. The Broncos had the ball for 25 minutes and 56 seconds. Defensively, the Broncos records 50 tackles, 28 solo tackles, 346 total tackles on the year, and 150 solo. They would sack Trevor Lawrence twice, bringing their sack total to 23. They forced the game's only fumble, which gives Denver now 12 forced fumbles this season. That ties for second most in the NFL. They had 3 passes defense by their defense. That brings their grand total to 33. They added 2 more interceptions with no touchdowns, which gives them now 5 INTs. The Jaguars defense had 40 tackles. Only 7 of those were solo tackles. Season totals are now 341 total and 134 solo. Well, they sacked Russell Wilson 3 times, which gives them now 14 sacks on the season. No fumbles for the Jaguar defense. They stay at 4. And 5 more passes defense by this Jacksonville Jaguar D, which brings their total to an NFL leading 53. They added an interception as well. That gives them 8 interceptions with 1 defensive touchdown. Closing line was Jacksonville -1, and the over-under was 41. I picked Jacksonville to win 20-14, and I took the Jaguars to cover the 2-point spread, which was dropped to 1 at close. So I lost both those picks. So now I'm 1-1 straight up and against the spread. That brings us to the Sunday afternoon schedule. You had 7 games in the early window, 4 in the late window. Starting things off, the Arizona Cardinals at the Minnesota Vikings. Arizona entered the day ranked number 21 in my Week 8 power rankings, while the Vikings were number 5. And it's the Vikings that get the win at home this week, 34-26, as they improve to 6-1 on the season, matching their best start since 2009. That year, they also went 6-1. All right, both teams ran about the same amount of plays. 66 total offensive plays for the Cardinals, 44 passes, 22 runs. 65 offensive plays for the Vikings, 36 passes and 29 runs. And they had pretty much about the same amount of yards, too. The Vikings slightly outgained the Cardinals in this one, 381-375. Passing yards went to Arizona, 297-208. Rushing yards, huge advantage to the Minnesota Vikings, 173-78. As the Vikings also were running at nearly 6 yards per rush attempt. Both teams had 25 first downs. This gives Arizona 173 first downs through 8 games, and Minnesota 157 through 7 games. Cardinals were 4-for-11 on third down for 36.4%. For the year, 37 of 109 for 33.9%. And 0-for-1 on fourth down for Arizona For the season, they're now 13 of 24 for 54.2%. So no team has gone for it on fourth down more than the Arizona Cardinals. The Minnesota Vikings, meanwhile, went 6 of 13 on third downs, 46.2%. They're now 37 of 88 for the year for 42%. And they were also 0 for 1 on fourth down, so this makes them 50% for the year, 5 of 10. Both teams had 10 penalties in this game. The Cardinals had 67 yards on 10 penalties. They now have 52 total flags for 435. The Vikings, meanwhile, had 86 yards on their 10 penalties. This gives them 35 for 271 through 7 games. Time of possession favored the Cardinals, 30 minutes and 33 seconds versus 29 minutes and 27 seconds for the Vikings. Defensively, the Arizona defense records 52 tackles, 38 solo. They now have 345 total tackles and 169 solo. They recorded 3 sacks on Kirk Cousins in this one, bringing their season total to 14, which remains one of the lowest sack totals in the NFL. They forced another fumble this week, bringing their season total to 9, and 3 passes defense gives them 36, with 0 interceptions nor touchdowns. Cardinals defense remains with 5 interceptions and 4 defensive touchdowns, and that includes 3 pick sixes. The Vikings defense records 55 tackles, 48 solo. They now have 297 total tackles and 189 solo. They sacked Kyler Murray 4 times. That brings their sack total to 21. No fumbles forced by the Viking defense. They stay at 6. 9 passes defense by the defense gives them 36. And they added 2 more interceptions, which brings their season total to 7 with no defensive scores. All right. Now let's take a look at the Cardinals and the Vikings. And I can tell you the closing line was Minnesota -4, and the over-under was 48.5. I picked Minnesota to win 31-24 and to cover the 3.5 point spread, which went to 4 at close. So I won both picks straight up and against the spread. I'm 2-1 in both areas. All right. On now to the game of the day, and quite possibly a contender for game of the year. The Carolina Panthers at the Atlanta Falcons. The winner of this game would be in first place in the NFC South, as crazy as that sounds. And this was a crazy, crazy game. Let me look it up here on the Sports Alerts app, and I can. Okay, so it was 24-21 Atlanta with about 7:40 left in the fourth quarter. Donta Freeman would then score a 12-yard rushing touchdown for Carolina to put them up 28-24 with about 3 minutes left. 40 seconds later, the Falcons responded with a Damiere Byrd 47-yard receiving touchdown, which put them up 31-28 with 2:14 left. The Panthers would get the ball back after a Young Ho Koo field goal from 34 yards made it 34-28 Atlanta with 40 seconds left. And it only took Carolina 17 seconds to score again, as P.J. Walker throws a bomb to DJ Moore for 62 yards and a touchdown. The Panthers were then hit with a 15-yard unsportsmanlike penalty for DJ Moore taking off his helmet in the field of play, which I think is ridiculous, if you ask me. And then their kicker, who all he had to do was kick the extra point and win it in regulation, missed the extra point, so we ended up going to overtime. Marcus Mariota would throw a pick on Atlanta's first series in OT. Panthers get the ball but couldn't do anything with it. The Panthers would get the ball, drive down the field, but were stopped. And then the Falcons would then drive down the field, and then Young Ho Koo would kick the game-winning 41-yard field goal with 2 minutes left in overtime to seal a 37-34 win for Atlanta in a thriller at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. That's a lot of hype for these stats, don't you think? The Panthers ran 72 offensive plays, evenly distributed, 36 passes, 36 runs. The Falcons ran 65 plays, 28 passes, 37 runs. Carolina outgained Atlanta overall 478 to 406. Passing yards favored Carolina 309 to 239. Rushing yards slightly favored Carolina 169 to 167. Oh, by the way, both teams averaged over 6 yards per offensive play and about 8.5 yards per pass, and at least 4.5 yards per run as well. First downs favored the Panthers 23 to 21. Panthers now have 116 to the Falcons 157. The Panthers finished 5 of 13 on third down for 38.5%. For the season, they're 26 of 97, which is an NFL worst 26.8%. They were 1 for 2 on fourth down for 50%, and that's their season average, 6 of 12. The Falcons, 6 of 12 on third downs for 50%. They are now 40 of 89 for the year, 44.9%. And no fourth down plays for the Falcon offense. They remain at 2 for 3 on the season, 66.7%. All right. The Panthers had 9 penalties for 74 yards. They now have 43 total for 402. The Falcons with 7 penalties for 64 yards. They now have 37 for 295. Time of possession is 36 minutes and 34 seconds for the Atlanta Falcons, 31 minutes and 31 seconds for the Carolina Panthers. That puts Atlanta in ball hawk territory. On to the defenses. The Panthers registered 51 tackles, 23 solo. They now have 357 total tackles, 142 solo. They recorded 2 sacks on Marcus Mariota, bringing their season total to 12. They forced 1 fumble in this game. That's their 4th of the year. 5 passes defense brings them to 30, and 2 interceptions gives them 6, along with 3 defensive touchdowns. The Atlanta defense clocked 47 tackles, 23 solo, 346 total tackles, and 135 solo through 8 games. They had 1 sack on the afternoon on PJ Walker. That's their 11th of the season. No forced fumbles in this game. That's 4 on the year still. And 7 passes defensed by the Falcons defense. That's 38 for the season. Oh, and the Falcons also recorded a pick 6 in this ball game. So that's their 7th interception and first defensive touchdown. Closing line in this game was Atlanta -4, and the over-under was 41.5. I took the Falcons to win 27-16 and to cover the 4 points. I got the straight-up pick right. But since the Falcons only won by 3, Carolina covers as the underdog on the road. So I lost the ATS pick. So now straight up, I'm 3-1 against the spread, 2-2. All right, next game is the Chicago Bears at the Dallas Cowboys. The Bears hanged in with the Cowboys until about the third quarter. Then Dallas started to put their foot on the accelerator, and they wound up winning this game 49-29. All right. The Bears ran 67 offensive plays, 24 passes, and 43 runs. The Cowboys ran 56 offensive plays, 27 passes, and 29 runs. Total yards favored Dallas, 442 to 371. Passing yards also favored Dallas, 242 to 131. Rushing yards favored Chicago, 240 to 200. So both teams ran the ball well. Chicago at about 5.6 yards per rush. The Cowboys at nearly 7 yards per rush. Dallas had 24 first downs to Chicago's 22. This gives the Cowboys 145 first downs through 8 games, and the Bears 139 through 8 games. The Bears finished 6 of 15 on third down for 40%. On the season, they're 48 for 108 at 44.4%. And 2 for 3 on fourth down, 66.7%. On the season, 5 for 12, 41.7%. The Dallas Cowboys, meanwhile, they were impressive on third down. How about 9 for 11 for 81.8%? And for the year, 47 of 98 for 48%. And no fourth down plays for Mike McCarthy's squad. They stay at 50% for the season, 4 out of 8. Both teams had 6 penalties. 45 yards on 6 penalties for Chicago gives them 41 on the season for 333. And 41 yards on 6 penalties for Dallas. This will give them 55 for 418 yards. Time of possession shockingly favored the Bears. Chicago held the ball for 36 minutes and 4 seconds. Dallas for 23 minutes and 56 seconds. The Bears are in ball hawk territory, and that's 3 already in the first 5 games. All right, defensively, the Bears defense had 38 tackles, 19 solo. They now have 341 total tackles, 148 solo. 1 sack on the afternoon on Dak Prescott. That's their 13th of the season. They forced no fumbles in this game, so they remain at 8. 3 passes defended gives them 29. They added 1 more interception to their total, which is now 9 with no defensive touchdowns. The Cowboys defense at 49 tackles, 21 solo. On the season, 364 tackles, 203 solo. They would sack Justin Fields 4 times. That gives them an NFL-leading 33 sacks. They forced their 8th fumble of the season. They also had 3 passes defensed in this game. That's 28 on the year. They're still at 6 interceptions and 1 touchdown after recording none of either in week 8. Closing line was Dallas minus 9.5, and the over-under was 43. And Dallas hit that point total by themselves by scoring 49 points. I picked the Cowboys to win this one 28-23. I predicted a much closer affair. And I also picked Chicago to cover the 9 points, which then went to 9.5. But obviously, Chicago got smoked, losing by 20. So I lost the ATS pick again. So now I'm 4-1 straight up and below 500 ATS at 2-3. Now to the Las Vegas Raiders at the New Orleans Saints. And just when you thought it was safe to say that the Las Vegas Raiders had their stuff together, then came this game. The Raiders literally had nothing going on Sunday, and that resulted in a 24-0 shutout loss to the Saints in the Superdome. Vegas ran only 52 offensive plays, 39 passes, and 13 runs. So that's a 3-1 ratio in terms of pass plays to rush plays. The Saints ran 63 offensive plays, and they were more balanced with them. 31 passes and 32 runs. All right. New Orleans would outgain Las Vegas on this day 367-183. They outgained the Raiders through the air 231-145. And listen to this. They outgained the Raiders as well, running the ball. 136 rushing yards to 38. Yeah, it was that bad. The Saints had 22 first downs while they held the Raiders to only 13. New Orleans now has 169 first downs through 8 games. Vegas has 143 through 7. Vegas finished 5 of 14 on third down for 35.7% for the season, 35 of 83 for 39.8%. And 2 of 3 on fourth down for 66.7%. They are now 8 for 11 at 72.7%. The Saints, meanwhile, they were 7 of 12 on third down, which is very good, 58.3%. For the season, 46 of 105 at 43.8%. And 0 for 1 on fourth down makes them 2 of 5 this year, 40%. The Raiders had 6 penalties for 59 yards. This year, they now have 45 for 370. The Saints had 5 penalties for 27 yards, 57 total for 486. Time of possession was 34 minutes and 51 seconds for New Orleans, which put them very close to ball hawk territory, and 25 minutes and 9 seconds for Las Vegas. Okay. The Raiders defense had 43 tackles, 14 solo. They now have 302 total tackles and 129 solo. No quarterback sacks in this game, as they remain with the NFL's lowest sack total, 9 through 7 games. No fumbles either, that's 3 still on the season, and only 2 defended passes, that's 21 for the year. No interceptions or touchdowns. They stay at 3 INTs and 2 scores. The Saints defense, 30 tackles and 8 solo tackles. They now have 320 total tackles, 144 solo. They would sack Derek Carr 4 times. That gives them 20 sacks on the season. No fumbles for them either. They stay at 7. 8 passes defended brings them to 28. One more interception for the New Orleans defense. That's just their second of the season. Closing line was Las Vegas -1, and the over-under was 48. And I took Vegas to win this game 35-20 at that. Sorry, yawning. This was my lock of the week. And boy, was I wrong on this. So I lose straight up, and I picked the Raiders to cover the measly 1-point spread. And losing by 24 points and being shut out in the process really doesn't help. So I lost the ATS pick as well. So now I'm 4-2 straight up and 2-4 against the spread. On to Detroit we go, as the Lions played host to the Miami Dolphins. And the Lions did fairly well, at least in the first half, scoring all 27 of their points before halftime. The Dolphins would proceed to shut the Lions out in the second half, and they would come from behind and beat Detroit 31-27. All right. So the Dolphins ran 62 offensive plays, 36 passes, 26 runs. The Lions ran 56 plays, 37 passes, and just 19 runs. The Dolphins had 476 yards of offense to 393 for the Lions. They outgained Detroit on the ground 107-82 and through the air 3-311. First down also in favor of the Dolphins, 27-22. Miami now has 166 through 8 games. Detroit has 147 through 7 games. The Dolphins were very good on third down, 8 for 12 for 66.7%, 1 for 1 on fourth down. So overall, they were 9 for 13. That's 69% in late down situations against the Lions. Detroit, meanwhile, was 4 for 9 on third downs, 44.4%, 1 for 2 on fourth down for 50%. And for the season, the Dolphins are 38 of 94 on third down for 40.4%. Lions are 31 of 85 for 37.3%. And on fourth downs, the Dolphins are hitting half of them, 5 out of 10, 50%. Lions are 9 of 20 for 45%. Miami had 7 penalties for 55 yards. They now have 55 penalties for 416. Detroit had 6 penalties for 30 yards and 44 total for 359. Time of possession favored Miami, 34 minutes, 22 seconds to 25 minutes and 38 seconds for the Detroit Lions. Okay. Dolphins defense records 40 tackles, 22 solo. They now have 336 tackles and 146 solo through 8 games. 1 sack on the afternoon on Jared Goff. That gives them 15 on the season. No forced fumbles for the Dolphin defense. That keeps their total at 5. 3 passes defended gives them 33. The Lions defense had 48 tackles, 34 solo. They now have 346 total tackles, 213 solo. They would sack Tua Tagovailoa twice. That brings their sack total to 11. 1 fumble forced in this game is their sixth of the year. And only 2 defended passes for the Lions defense. That gives them 16 on the year. No interceptions or touchdowns by either defense. So the Dolphins still have 4 interceptions, and the Lions remain with 2. Closing line was Miami minus 3.5, and the over-under was 52. I picked the Miami Dolphins to win this game 24-13, and they covered the 3.5 points, and they did so, winning by 4. Very close. So I won both picks. That makes me 5-2 straight up, 3-4 against the spread. All right. Now to a divisional clash in the AFC East, as Mac Jones and the New England Patriots paid a visit to Zach Wilson's New York Jets. And the Patriots snapped New York's 4-game win streak, beating the Jets 22-17. And this win extra special for Patriots head coach Bill Belichick. That's his 325th career win. He has now passed the legendary Bob Hallis in the second place on the NFL's all-time coaching wins list. Just 22 more until he catches the league's all-time winningest coach, Don Shula, the man behind the undefeated 72 Dolphins. I said Bob Hallis, I meant George Hallis. But either way, very special win for Mr. Belichick. Congratulations. New England ran 69 offensive plays, 35 passes, 34 runs. Jets ran 56 plays, 41 passes, 15 runs. The Jets outgained the Patriots by nearly 100 yards in this game, 387-288. They had more than double the pass yards of the Patriots, 336-161, but it was New England who outgained New York on the ground, 127-51. First downs also favored New England, 19-17. Through 8 games, the Patriots have 147. The Jets right there with 144. Both teams are in the 30th percentile in third down conversions. 31.6% for the Patriots, 6 of 19. This will make them 39 of 99 for the season at 39.4%. 35.7% for New York, 5 out of 14. This puts them 37 out of 112 for 33%. Fourth down conversions, 1 for 2 for New England, 0 for 1 for the Jets. On the year, the Patriots are 2 for 6 on fourth down, 33.3%. Jets 5 of 11, 45.5%. New England had 6 penalties for 54 yards, 48 total for 383. New York had 4 penalties for 41 yards and 52 total through 8 games for 567. Time of possession was 35 minutes and 34 seconds for New England. That puts them in ball hog territory. The Jets had the ball for just 24 minutes and 26 seconds. Taking a look at the defenses now, the Patriots had 33 tackles, 13 solo. They now have 328 total tackles and 127 solo. They would sack Zach Wilson twice. Their sack total sits at 22. No forced fumbles by the Patriots defense keeps them at 8. 6 passes defended brings them to 31. And how about 3 interceptions? That brings them up to 10 on the year with 1 touchdown. As for the Jets, 56 tackles, 32 solo. They now have 349 total tackles and 156 solo tackles. And they would sack Mac Jones 6 times. Yes, you heard right. 6 times. Brings their total to 21. One forced fumble on the day. That's their 6th of the year. 4 passes defended on the day. That's 43. And they added an interception as well. That's their 9th of the season with 1 defensive touchdown. Okay. Closing line in this game was New England -3, and the over-under was 40. I took the Patriots to win. I took the Patriots to win 26-21 and to cover the 2.5 points. They won by 5, so I won both picks. So I'm now 6-2 straight up, 4-4 against the spread. If you're joining me late, this is the week that was, as I'm running down all the statistical numbers for week number 8 in the 2022 NFL season. Coming up, a look at the updated NFL standings plus my week 9 power rankings. Those are coming up at the end, so stick around. The last of the Sunday afternoon games is the Battle of Pennsylvania, as the Pittsburgh Steelers made that trek east along the Pennsylvania Turnpike to face the NFL's lone unbeaten, the Philadelphia Eagles, who came in with a 6-0 record. Oh, and the Eagles are undefeated against the Steelers in Philadelphia in the Super Bowl era, 9-0. Make it 10 after Philly's 35-13 win on Sunday. And the star of this game was clearly Eagles wide receiver A.J. Brown. 6 catches for 156 yards and 3 first-half touchdowns. Jalen Hurts on the day would throw 4 TDs. All right, so the Steelers ran 64 plays, 40 passes, 24 runs, while the Eagles ran only 50 plays, 30 passes, and 20 runs. Total yards were 401 to 300 to the Eagles. Passing yards also favored the Eagles, 290 to 156. But surprisingly, the Steelers outgained Philly on the ground, 144 to 111. So do the math, 144 yards on 24 rushes. That's 6 yards exactly per rush attempt. First downs also favored Pittsburgh, 21-20. So that gives the Steelers 147 through 8 games. And the Eagles have 164 through 7. One team was really good on first down. The other team was really bad on third down. The Pittsburgh Steelers were 1 for 12 on third downs. That's 8.3%. Yeah, that's bad. For the year, they are now 36 of 105 at 34.5%. Fourth downs, though, they were perfect, 4 for 4. They are now 8 of 11 on the year on fourth down at 72.7%, and that's one of the highest rates in the NFL. The Eagles were 7 of 12 on third down for 58.3%. On the season, 45 for 99 for 45.5%. And on fourth down, they were also perfect, 1 for 1. And on the season, 10 for 14. So they have converted they're tied with the Cleveland Browns for the second most fourth downs converted in the NFL, trailing only the Arizona Cardinals. And at 71.4%, they are tied with the Rams. for the fourth highest fourth down conversion percentage in the league. Both teams hit hard with penalties. 9 penalties, 60 yards for Pittsburgh. They now have 51 for 358. And 8 for 60 yards for Philadelphia. Gives them 39 on the year for 293. Time of possession was 34 minutes and 18 seconds for the Pittsburgh Steelers, which puts them close to ball hawk territory. And the 25 minutes and 42 seconds in time of possession for the Philadelphia Eagles may have been their lowest this year, since they lead the league in that particular category. All right, defensively, 38 tackles, 21 solo tackles for the Steelers, 356 and 167 through 8 games. They sacked Jalen Hurts 3 times. That gives them 15 sacks on the year. No fumbles in this game. They remain at 11, among the league leaders in that category. 5 more passes defense puts them at 44, again, among the league leaders. No interceptions or touchdowns, so they stay with 8 INTs and 1 score. 52 tackles and 29 solo for Philadelphia. This gives them 297 tackles, 154 solo through 7 games. They would sack Kenny Pickett 6 times, which jumps them up to 22 sacks. They forced 2 fumbles in this game. That gives them 8. And 7 passes defended for them puts them at 45, putting them among the league leaders in that category. One more interception, I should say, for the Philly defense gives them 10 on the year, tying them with the Patriots for the second most interceptions by a defense this year. And they also have a defensive touchdown. Closing line in the Keystone State battle was Philadelphia minus 11.5 over under 43. I took the Eagles in this one, 31-17, and to cover what was 10.5 points when I wrote this information down. Number jumped to 11.5 at close. But either way, I won both picks. So that puts me at 7-2 straight up, 5-4 against the spread. Now to the late afternoon portion of the schedule. We'll start off with the Tennessee Titans at the Houston Texans. No Ryan Tannehill under center for Tennessee. He was out with an injury. So that meant rookie Malik Willis would start in his place. And he really didn't have to do much. Let the ground game take care of itself in this one, as the Titans wound up beating the Texans 17-10, and another ho-hum type day for Tennessee running back Derrick Henry. 32 rushes for 219 yards and 2 touchdowns on the ground. He also added a 9-yard catch in this game, so he had 228 yards of offense for the Tennessee Titans. And he basically outgained the entire Houston Texans team by himself, as you'll see in just a second. The Titans ran 55 offensive plays, only 10 passes to 45 runs. Houston ran 48 plays, 30 passes, and 18 runs. The Titans would outgain the Texans 354 to 161. So like I said, Derrick Henry by himself outgained the entire Houston Texans offense. Passing yards favored the Texans, 118-40. So not a lot of passing yards in this game. Rushing yards, 314 by the Tennessee Titans, 43 for the Houston Texans. And again, 219 of that went to Derrick Henry. So he was responsible for nearly 70% of Tennessee's rushing yards on Sunday. And not a lot of first downs, only 26 total in the entire game. 16 for Tennessee, 10 for Houston. Which means the Texans had as many first downs as they did points. The Titans now have 116 first downs through 7 games. The Texans not too far behind them at 114, which is the lowest in the NFL. Both teams were bad on third down. 4 of 12 for the Titans, 33.3%. On the year, 30 of 83 for 36.1%. The Texans were particularly bad on third down. 2 of 14, 14.3%. And 30 of 94 for 31.9% on the season. Both teams, however, were perfect on fourth down. 1 for 1 for Tennessee, 2 for 2 for Houston. 3 of 4 on the year for the Titans for 75%, and that's the highest rate in the NFL. 5 of 10 for the Texans for 50%. Both teams had 6 penalties. 35 yards on 6 penalties for the Titans gives them 45 for 381. 45 yards on 6 penalties for Houston gives them 39 for 310. Time of possession, 34 minutes and 48 seconds for Tennessee. 12 seconds away from being in ball hawk status. 25 minutes and 12 seconds for the Houston Texans. All right, the Tennessee Titans defense recorded 39 tackles, 26 solo. They now have 312 total tackles and 163 solo. 3 sacks on the afternoon on Davis Mills. That gives them 19 on the season. No fumbles in the game. They stay at 7. 2 passes defended puts them at 28. And the Texans defense had 48 tackles, 23 solo. They now have 337 total, 169 solo. 3 sacks on Malik Willis gives them 16 sacks on the season. And 1 fumbled forced. That's their 4th of the year. 1 pass defensed in this game. That's their 32nd. Both teams added an interception. That puts both at 7 interceptions, and Tennessee has a defensive touchdown as well. Closing line is Tennessee -1, over under 39.5. I took the Titans 27-17. And I also picked them to cover the 2.5 points, which fell to 1 at close. So I won both picks. So now I'm 8-2 straight up. Very good. And 6-4 against the spread. Okay, the next game up is the New York Football Giants at the Seattle Seahawks. 2 of the NFC's best surprises in 2022. And it's the home team that gets the win as Seattle takes it 27-13. Both teams ran 59 plays, and both were pretty balanced with their play selection. 31 passes and 28 rushes for the Giants. 34 passes and 25 rushes for the Seahawks. Seattle outgained New York overall 277-225, 190-147 passing, and 87-78 rushing. All favored Seattle. And yeah, give this Seattle Seahawks defense credit, especially its run defense. Holding the New York Giants' ground attack to just 78 yards clearly deserves an award, I think. First downs were 19 for the Seahawks, 14 for the Giants. Seattle now has 160 first downs, while the Giants have 163. Both teams were not good on third down, however. 6 of 16 for New York, 37.5%. On the year, 42 of 106 for 39.6%. 3 for 13, a paltry 3 for 13 for the Seahawks at 23.1%. On the season, 39 of 92 for 42.4%. Giants were 0 for 1 on fourth down, and on the year, 2 for 6. Seahawks, a perfect 2 for 2 on fourth down, and on the season, 4 for 8 at 50%. The Giants had 6 penalties for 53 yards, 54 total for 427. 3 penalties for the Seahawks for 25 yards, 60 total for 528. Time of possession favors New York, 33 minutes, 34 seconds, 6 minutes, and 26 seconds for Seattle. The Giants defense had 44 tackles, 27 solo. They now have 321 total tackles and 146 solo. They would sack Geno Smith 3 times, bringing their sack total to 15. They forced another fumble in this game that gives them 12. They are now tied with the Broncos for the second most forced fumbles in the NFL. 3 passes defended brings them to 33. Seattle's defense clocked 52 tackles and 35 solo. They're now up to 393 total tackles, which leads the NFL, and 204 solo tackles. They would sack Daniel Jones 5 times. That's 22 on the year. And their 3 forced fumbles gives them an NFL leading 14 forced fumbles. And in 6 passes defended brings them to 35. Neither team recorded an interception or a touchdown from their defense. So New York still has the 1 INT. Seattle has 5 with 1 defensive touchdown. Closing line was Seattle -3, and the over-under was 44.5. I did pick the Giants to win this game 27-24 in respect of New York's running game, and I also hit the Giants in a push, but the line didn't win in Seattle's favor, so I ended up losing both picks. So now I'm 8-3 straight up, 6-5 against the point spread. All right. Now it's time for Rams-Niners Part 2. This time at SoFi Stadium in Inglewood. And it didn't go as planned again for the defending Super Bowl champions. As Jimmy Garoppolo continues to own LA in the regular season. And his domination of the Rams continued on Sunday with a 31-14 win over their hated NFC West rivals. All right, the Niners ran 49 offensive plays, 26 passes, 23 runs. The Rams ran 54 plays, 33 passes, and 21 runs. Total yards were 368 to 223. Passing yards were 257 to 167. Rushing yards were 111 to 56. And first downs were 22 to 16, all in favor of the San Francisco 49ers. The Niners now have 158 first downs through 8 games. LA has 131 through 7. Both teams were very good on third down. 5 of 9 for the Niners for 55.6%. Now 43 of 97 on the year for 44.3%. LA finished 8 of 13 on third downs. That's 61.5%. And for the year, 40 of 88 for 45.5%. Neither team had a fourth down play, so the Niners stay at 2 for 7. The Rams stay at 5.7 or 5 for 7. 28.6% to 71.4%. And this game had the second fewest penalties of any game this week, just 7. 3 by the 49ers for only 8 yards. That's it. They now have 51 penalties for 358 yards. LA had 4 penalties for 50 yards and 28 total for 255. So in terms of number of flags, LA is the least penalized team in football through 8 weeks. Time of possession favored the champs, 30 minutes and 4 seconds versus 29 minutes and 56 seconds for the Bang Bang Nana gang. All right. Speaking of the Bang Bang Nana gang, shouts out to E40. San Fran's defense recorded 35 tackles, 12 solo, 331 total tackles, and 148 solo through 8 games. They had 2 sacks on Matthew Stafford, putting them at 27. No fumbles in this game, so they stay at 5. And only 2 passes defensed in this game. That's 31. The LA defense records 37 tackles, just 6 solo. They're now up to 275 total tackles and 106 solo. They would sack Jimmy Garoppolo 3 times, bringing their sack total to 15. 1 fumble in the game by the LA defense gives them 7. 4 passes defense gives them 23. Neither team recorded an interception or touchdown by their defense. And this is the 4th game this week where neither defense recorded an interception or a touchdown. So the Niners stay with 6 interceptions and 2 touchdowns. The Rams defense with 5 interceptions. Closing line was LA -1, over under is 42.5. I took the Niners 27-21, and I picked them to cover the 1-point spread. In fact, they were favored by that 1 point when I wrote this information down, but at close, that line has shifted in LA's direction. Either way, I won both picks, 9-3 straight up now, and 7-5 against the spread. The last Sunday afternoon game was the Washington Commanders at the Indianapolis Colts, and all of a sudden, the Washington Commanders are on a winning streak. Which goes now to 3 after they up in the Colts in Naptown 17-16. The Commanders ran 59 offensive plays, 31 passes, 28 runs. The Colts ran 52 offensive plays, 23 passes, and 29 runs. Washington outgained Indianapolis 362-324. They also outgained the Colts through the air 266-189. But it was the Colts who couldn't run for crap all season. All of a sudden, their ground game got going today. They outran the Commanders 135-96. First downs favored Washington 20-15. The Colts now have 162 first downs through 8 games to 157 for the Commanders. One team was very bad on third down. The other was okay, but not great. Washington finished 2 for 12 on third down for 16.7%. For the year, they're now 37 of 107 for 34.6%. Indianapolis was 5 for 12, 41.7%. They're now 44 of 107 for 40.4%. The Commanders finished 2 for 3 on third down, 66.7%. 4 of 11 for the season for 36.4. No fourth down plays for Indy. They stay at 2 out of 7 for 28.6. And this game had the fewest penalties of any game across the NFL in Week 8. 6 total penalties, 3 on each side. 52 yards for the Commanders gives them 49 penalties for 477. 25 yards for the Colts gives them 45 penalties for 372. Time of possession favored the boys from DC, 30 minutes 40 seconds versus 29 minutes and 20 seconds for the Indianapolis Colts. Okay, the Commanders' defense records 41 tackles, 23 solo. They now have 309 total tackles, 138 solo. 1 sack on Sam Ehlinger in this game brings them to 20. 1 fumble forced in this game, their third of the year. 2 passes defense, that's 32. And no interceptions or touchdowns, so they stay at 2 INTs. The Colts defense, 45 tackles, 17 solo. They now have 364 total tackles and 180 solo. 2 sacks on the afternoon. Taylor Heineke gives them 19. No fumbles forced keeps them at 4. 4 passes defended brings them to 25. And they added 1 interception to their total, which is now 4 with no defensive TDs. Closing line was Indianapolis -3, and the over-under was 40. I blindly took the Colts to win 20-16 and to cover the 3 points. Washington wins this one going away, both straight up and against the spread, so I take the loss in both. I'm now 9-4 straight up, 7-6 against the spread. Now to Sunday Night Football, as the Buffalo Bills defeated the slumping Green Bay Packers 27-17. And that's now 4 straight losses for Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. Green Bay ran 61 offensive plays, 30 passes, and 31 runs. Buffalo ran 52 plays, 25 passes, and 27 runs. Total yards for 398 to 369 to Green Bay. Passing yards favored Buffalo, 216 to 190. Rush yards favored Green Bay, 208 to 153. First downs also favored the Pack, 21 to 20. Packers through 8 games have 159 first downs. The Bills through 7 have 166. The Packers finished 6 of 12 on third down for 50%. They're now 34 for 91 on the season, 37.4%. And 0 for 2 on fourth down for 0%, obviously. And 2 of 11 on the season, which is 18.2%. And I think that's the lowest in the NFL, that 18.2%. It is. The Bills finished 2 for 7 on third downs, 28.6%. They're now 40 of 79 on the year, still above 50%, but barely. And no fourth down plays for Buffalo. They stay 6 of 10 for 60%. The Packers had 8 penalties for 58 yards, 48 for 346 through 8 games. 4 penalties for the Bills for 35 yards and 40 for only 265 through 7. Time of possession favored the Cheeseheads, 33 minutes, 48 seconds for the Packers, 26 minutes, 12 seconds for Buffalo. The Packers defense records 39 tackles, 23 solo. They now have 334 total tackles and 168 solo. They recorded 2 sacks on Josh Allen. That's numbers 16 and 17. They forced their 4th fumble of the season. Try saying that 5 times fast. And they recorded 6 passes defense, bringing them to 24. And 2 interceptions on top of that. They now have 4 INTs and a defensive touchdown. For the Bills, they recorded 54 tackles, 29 solo. Now 306 total and 163 solo. They would sack Aaron Rodgers twice as well. That's 20 and 21 on the year. And still, no fumbles forced by this Bills defense through 7 games and 8 weeks. 6 passes defended brings them to 42. 1 interception and no touchdowns. And that 1 interception gives Buffalo a league-leading 11 INTs with 1 defensive score. Closing line was Buffalo minus 10.5, and the over-under was 47. I picked the Bills to win 31-23, and I picked the Packers to cover the point spread, which was 11 when I wrote the information down, and then dropped the 10.5 at close. So I won both picks. That puts me at 10-4 straight up and 8-6 against the spread. And then it's an all Buckeye State affair on Monday Night Football as we wrap up the rundown here with the Cincinnati Bengals and the Cleveland Browns on the shores of Lake Erie. And it was total dominance from Jacoby Brissett and the Browns as they win this one going into their bye week, 32-13. The Bengals ran 45 plays, 35 pass plays, 10 rushes. The Browns ran 67 plays, 23 runs, and 23 passes and 44 runs. All right, Cleveland would outgain Cincinnati 440-229. Through the air, they outgained them 268-193. And on the ground, they outgained them by quite a bit, 172-36. First downs were 24 for the Browns, 15 for the Bengals. Through 8 games, Cleveland has 181. And that ties Jacksonville for the most in the NFL. The Bengals have 172. Cincinnati finished 4 out of 10 on third downs for 40%, 0 for 1 on fourth down. 50 of 99 are the Bengals on third down this season for 50.5%. 2 of 9 on fourth down for 22.2%. The Cleveland Browns were exceptional on third down, 8 of 13 for 61%, no fourth down plays. On the season, the Browns are 45 of 109 on third down for 41.3%, 10 of 16 on fourth down for 62.5%. The Bengals, as bad a night as they had, were only flagged twice the entire night for 6 yards. They now have 36 penalties for 239 yards. And the Cleveland Browns had 6 penalties, 56 yards. Gives them 51 for 413. Time of possession was 36 minutes and 45 seconds for Cleveland, putting them in ball hawk territory. They are the 5th team this week to reach that status. Bengals have the ball for 23 minutes and 15 seconds. Now to the defenses. The Bengals record 46 tackles, 8 solo. They're up to 332 tackles and 156 solo. They sacked Jacoby Brissett twice. That's numbers 16 and 17 for the Bengals defense. 1 fumble forced in the game. That's number 6. 1 pass defense in this game. That's number 31. And 1 interception. They're 6th of the year with no touchdowns. The Browns defense records 32 tackles, only 6 solo, 318 total tackles, and 170 solo through 8 games for the Browns. They would sack Joe Burrow 5 times. That's 19 on the year for the Browns. Cleveland would also force a fumble in this game, their 7th. 6 passes defense in this game brings them to 38. And 1 interception added for them as well, their 3rd of the season, again with no defensive touchdowns. Closing line was Cincinnati -3, over-under was 45. I picked the Browns to win 26-23 and to cover the 3.5 points as the home underdog. The line would then drop to 3. Cleveland ends up winning by 19, so I won both picks. So for the week, I finished 11-4. For the week, I finished 11-4 straight up, and 9-6 against the spread. So I had a much better showing this week against the spread than I had in previous weeks. So overall, my straight up record is now 78, 44, and 1. And my record against the spread is still below 500 for the year. I'm now at 58, 61, and 4. It's 123 games. So straight up, I'm now hitting close to 64% of my picks. All right, so that's a rundown of this week's games. Oh, the teams with the bye week this week both reside atop the AFC West. The Kansas City Chiefs and the Los Angeles Chargers were off this week, but we will see them again next week. Now the updated NFL standings, as we're about to close things down here just a bit, followed by my Week 9 power rankings. We'll start in the AFC North. The Baltimore Ravens are on top by themselves at 5-3, followed by the Cincinnati Bengals at 4-4. Then it's the Cleveland Browns at 3-5 and the Pittsburgh Steelers at 2-6. In the East, it's the Buffalo Bills now a game and a half ahead at 6-1, as both the New York Jets and Miami Dolphins are at 5-3. Division tiebreaker would go to New York. And the New England Patriots are still in the basement with a 4-4 record. In the South, it's the Tennessee Titans at 5-2 and winners of 5 in a row. The Indianapolis Colts are at 3-4-1. The Jacksonville Jaguars, losers of 5 in a row, sit at 2-6, while the Houston Texans are 1-5-1. And in the West, the aforementioned Kansas City Chiefs are 5-2, and the aforementioned LA Chargers are 4-3. The Denver Broncos are in third place at 3-5, and the Las Vegas Raiders are in the cellar at 2-5. Over in the NFC, the Minnesota Vikings have a big lead in the North Division at 6-1. They are 3.5 games up on both the Green Bay Packers and Chicago Bears, who both sit 3-5. And at the bottom with a 5-game losing streak is the Detroit Titans. It's not baseball season, it's football season. So it's the Detroit Lions sitting at the bottom of the North Division at 1-6. And they've dropped 5 in a row. The Packers have dropped 4 straight. The Vikings have won 5 straight. The beat goes on for the Philadelphia Eagles, the NFL's lone unbeaten team, now 7-0. They're a game and a half up on both the Dallas Cowboys and New York Giants, who are both 6-2. And the Washington Commanders sitting in last place with a 4-4 record, just as the Patriots are over in the AFC East. In the NFC South, how about this, folks? The Atlanta Falcons are in first place alone at 4-4. With both the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and New Orleans Saints tied for second at 3-5. Tampa has dropped 3 straight, and the Carolina Panthers are 2-6. And in the NFC West, it's the Seattle Seahawks at 5-3 and 3 straight wins, followed by the San Francisco 49ers, aka the Bang Bang Niner Gang, at 4-4. The defending Super Bowl champion Los Angeles Rams are 3-4. And in the basement, the Arizona Cardinals at 3-5. And now to our last order of business tonight, the Week 9 Power Rankings, and we'll begin from the bottom to the top. The Houston Texans stay at number 32. They're unchanged. Number 31 is the Chicago Bears, down from 29. Number 30, despite losing a thriller, the Carolina Panthers, up from 31. Number 29 is the Jacksonville Jaguars, down from 27. Number 28 is the Pittsburgh Steelers, down from 23. Number 27, despite losing, the Detroit Lions, up from 28. Number 26 are the Cleveland Browns, up from 30. Number 25 is the Denver Broncos. They stay unchanged. Number 24 is the New Orleans Saints, up from 26. Number 23 is the Arizona Cardinals, down from 21. Number 22 is the Washington Commanders, up from 24. Number 21 is the Las Vegas Raiders, down from 15. And this is not my biggest drop this week, so never mind. Number 20 is the Indianapolis Colts. They stay unchanged. Number 19 is the Green Bay Packers, down from 17. Number 18 is the Atlanta Falcons, up from 22. Number 17 is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, down from 11. Number 16 is the Seattle Seahawks, up from 19. Number 15 is my biggest drop in my power rankings, and that's the Cincinnati Bengals, down from 7. Number 14, and moving up despite not playing last week, the Los Angeles Chargers, up from 18. Number 13 is the New York Jets, down from 12. This week's number 12 is the New England Patriots, up from 16. Number 11 is the Los Angeles Rams, down from 8. Number 10, the Tennessee Titans, up from 13. Number 9 is the Miami Dolphins, up from 14. Number 8, the Baltimore Ravens, up from 10. Number 7, the New York Football Giants, down from 4. Number 6, the San Francisco 49ers, up from 9. Number 5, the Minnesota Vikings, unchanged. Number 4, and jumping ahead of the Vikings, are the Dallas Cowboys, up from 6. And the top 3 are the same. Kansas City Chiefs, number 3. Philadelphia Eagles, number 2. And the Buffalo Bills at number 1. And that is it, folks, for the Week 8 edition of the week that was in the National Football League. as week 8 is now in the books. Okay, we got some college football rankings coming up. We'll look at both the AP and coaches polls and the first college football playoff standings. Those are all coming up in just a bit. So give me a few minutes and I will get on that video. Also coming up is the Week 10 college football schedule and the announcers for each game. So again, stick around for both those videos. And I'll be making my Week 9 picks against the spread and straight up on Thursday, so watch out for that as well. And we'll see you back here next Tuesday night for the Week 9 edition of the week that was. In the meantime, like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Ring the bell and get notified every time I go live. Big Al signing off. Thanks for watching and enjoy the pigskin. Peace out.